brand new topping?
Honestly, probably not. We kind of have a go-to order.
Fine. Just bundle home or auto insurance with your outdoor vehicles with Progressive and stay protected when you go, I guess, where you've gone before. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Not available in all states or situations.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm.
I'm Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group. Did you buy a timeshare because they told you it was a great investment? That's a lie. Most timeshares can be bought online for $1. To find out what your timeshare is worth and to cancel it, call us today and we'll send you our timeshare exit kit free with all your options for cancellation.
Call Wesley for your free exit info guide. 800-771-1300. That's 800-771-1300.
Stoke here for ROX Rocks Heating and Air. Are you in the market for a new air conditioner? Well, hold on. You need to think about a heat pump. My team at ROX are Colorado's heat pump experts and rebate specialists. Get up to $12,000 in energy rebates and credits. These savings are incredible, but they're only available for a limited time. Only at ROX Rocks Heating and Air. Now play that jingle.
HVAC service, installation, repair. ROX Rocks Heating and Air.
Max HELOC is a game changer and can lower your bill significantly without affecting your current loan. How much savings depends on your unique situation, but you could borrow $250,000 with a payment option as low as $495 a month. Consolidate your debts and make life a lot easier. We make it easy to save, and you don't need perfect credit either. U.S. Mortgages, and our number says it all, 303 low rate.
All loans subject to approval and change. License number 392126.
The upgrade you've been dreaming of at a price you didn't expect. Hi, I'm Brad Barnett, president and founder of Mountain High Appliance. This Memorial Day, get a 4-piece stainless kitchen for only $19.99. Get a GE front-load washer and dryer for only $15.98. Save $900. Or shop our clearance center and save up to 60%. Plus, we'll match any local competitor's price. The best service and the best prices. Why go anywhere else?
Mountain High Appliance, your favorite appliance store.
Thank you.
Tune in Tuesday afternoons for Injury Insights with Zach Bai and Dr. Joseph Ramos to hear the latest injury news on your local teams and around the world of sports. Ramos Law. What makes us different makes us better.
If your fence is falling apart, don't wait until it fails completely. Loose posts, broken panels, no privacy, it only gets worse. Fence Guys has been serving the Denver Metro for over 20 years and was voted Best of Mile High 3 years in a row. They handle new fences and repairs, wood, vinyl, iron, and more. Get it fixed right away. Visit DenverFenceGuys.com for your free estimate. Fence Guys, they don't just build fences, they stand behind them.
Questions about youth or high school sports? Positive Coaching Alliance can help. PCA, a national nonprofit organization, develops better athletes and better people through youth and high school sports. Info at positivecoach.org.
KKFN and KKFN HD1 Longmont, Denver. Powered by Regen RX. It's The Drive with Zach Bai and Philip Lindsay. Welcome to Denver Sports Tonight, taking a look at the biggest stories in Denver sports. From your online home for the best opinions and information on the Broncos, Nuggets, Avalanche, Rockies, and more, DenverSports.com.
Welcome on in. This is Denver Sports Tonight. He is Mike Bryce. I'm Dante Gomez. And Mike, what a time to be a sports fan in the Mile High City. What a time to be a sports fan in general. NFL schedule release day was yesterday. Me and Mike will be breaking that all down. The Avalanche finally know their opponent in the Western Conference Final, taking on the Vegas Golden Knights after they took care of the Anaheim Ducks last night. Pretty big blowout there. Also, real quick while we're on that, Mitch Marner, one of the absolute best goals I have ever seen. We'll circle back to some Avalanche stuff, but I just want to get that out of the way.
Oh, man. I mean, ridiculous. It will be interesting, and I look forward to the conversation about the Avs and Golden Knights because I've heard some rumblings about your true allegiances, Dante, but I won't go there to start the show.
It's not my true allegiances.
I'll just allude to it.
No, I'll just come out and say I respected the Golden Knights when some of my other coworkers here did not respect the Golden Knights, and now look what we're faced with in the Western Conference Final. But again, we will circle back to that. For now, let's dig into the Broncos schedule. That came out yesterday around 5:30. We had some leaks during the day yesterday as well prior to that. The leaks ended up being pretty accurate to what it ended up being, but we are... I'll just go ahead and run down the gambit here. Week 1 at Kansas City, Week 2 hosting Jacksonville, Week 3 hosting the Rams, Week 4 in San Francisco, Week 5 in LA against the Chargers, Week 6 hosting the Seattle Seahawks, Week 7 in Arizona taking on the Cardinals, Week 8 hosting the Chiefs for their second matchup there. Week 9 at Carolina taking on the playoff Panthers from last year. Week 10, a nice little mid-season bye week there. Week 11, division game they will be hosting the Raiders. Week 12, they travel to Pittsburgh to take on the Steelers. Week 13, they host the Dolphins. Weeks 14 and 15 are on the road against the Jets and the Raiders. Week 16 and 17, they have AFC East opponents in the Bills, which will be here in Denver, and then they travel to New England in Week 17, and they wrap it up in Week 18, hosting the LA Chargers. Mike, when you first saw the schedule yesterday, what was the biggest thing that stood out to you?
Well, I think everyone's been talking about the first 6 games, and clearly that stretch stood out. Part of me went, oh my goodness, that's a gauntlet. And then there was a part of me, Dante, that said, but wait a minute, the Broncos went 14-3. They were the top seed in the AFC. What did I realistically expect? I think if you're a card-carrying member of Broncos country, you go, this is what we've been shooting for. This is the kind of schedule that, while difficult and challenging, is evidence of the fact that we're closer to the elite of the AFC than the bottom of the AFC, where they were 3 short seasons ago. So it's difficult. There's no doubt. It stands out. But as I've thought about some of these games, I don't think it's an 0-6 or 1-5 start. Now, that's assuming, obviously, that Bo Nix is healthy and starting the season playing like he did last year.
Yeah, and that's an assumption I'm willing to make, at least, that Bo Nix has only missed 1 game in his career as a Bronco here. So he's been pretty reliable for this team in his, year 2? His first 2 years here in Denver. Sean Payton's 3 years, Bo's 2. But yeah, so his 2 years here has been pretty reliable as a starter. Stinks that he missed the AFC Championship game, his biggest game of his career there. But just unfortunate circumstances. But I'm with you. I think it's a tough schedule. And if you reverse it, though, those other teams still have to play Denver. And you have to look at it that way as well, where I don't think San Francisco's loving the idea of hosting the Denver Broncos in, week 4 there. Same with some of those other teams that we mentioned. So I think it goes both ways, where, yes, the Broncos have a tough schedule, and I don't think it'll be a repeat of last year where the Broncos go 14-3 and everybody's like, well, look at the schedule they had. I think a lot of people tried to poke holes in this Broncos team. This year, it'll be legitimate. Whatever their record ends up being, people are going to respect this team if they end up winning those 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 games maybe in 2026 here. We are going to go and we'll go week by week, predict some winners and losers for the Broncos. We'll group up some of the games on maybe the 3 toughest games, the 3 easiest games, maybe what single game you are most looking forward to as well. But let's go ahead and start with week 1, which is the one that we actually knew ahead of time a little bit there. It's going to be on prime time. They travel to Kansas City, division opponent. Patrick Mahomes expected to be back. Bo Nix expected to be healthy as well. Should be a great game. Broncos opened up as a 2.5-point underdog in that one. What are your thoughts about week 1 for this Broncos squad?
The thoughts on this game is this was one of the toughest games for me to pick. I went back and forth, first one way, then the other way. Then I really went back and forth on this. Ultimately, I picked the Broncos to win. And part of me is unsure because I don't know. We talked about Bo Nix and his health. Patrick Mahomes' health, I think, is also in question, although I do like the point, and I don't know who made it. I think several made it this week, that if the league put this game in prime time in week 1, that they might have some information that may imply something about the health of Patrick Mahomes, that he is indeed ahead of schedule and expected to be, if not 100%, pretty darn close to where the league feels this is a marquee game for the opening week. So I like the Broncos. It wouldn't shock me at all if the Chiefs find a way to win, but I will take Denver to start 1-0.
I, unfortunately, might come on the other side of history on this one. I have the Chiefs winning. I think it'll be a very close game. I'm excited to see what this Chiefs offense looks like with Kenneth Walker in the mix, with Patrick Mahomes coming off an injury. I don't think they're going to quite put as much on Patrick Mahomes in 2026 as we've seen the last 2 to 3 years, where it felt like that entire offense just revolved around Patrick Mahomes making special plays, whether from the pocket, expanding plays, and moving around with his feet, and then making the throws downfield. I expect this team to be kind of reinvent themselves somewhat with the talent that they've gained. Made that big trade, sending Trent McDuffie out to L.A. They go ahead and trade up in the draft, though, for a corner replacement there, so just going a little bit cheaper at that position. But I'm excited to see this Chiefs team. I think the Chiefs are going to be back in the back vying for the AFC West again. I think it's a 3-horse race between the Broncos, the Chargers, and the Chiefs. I think all three have a good chance of making the playoffs, though. Spoiler alert, I have the Broncos end up splitting with the Chiefs, but I have them dropping in week 1. We'll move on to week 2. They host Jacksonville. It is a rematch from week, was that like 17 or 16 last year?
Yeah,
I want to say
it was a late one for sure.
Week 16 when Jacksonville came in here and kind of punked the Broncos a little bit.
Big time.
Played that underdog card. Liam Cohen over there, the small market comments from Sean Payton. I don't expect. Actually, it would be pretty funny if Sean Payton ran the small market comments back this year. Instead, maybe come out with a victory. But I have the Broncos getting right there. I think this time the Broncos punk the Jaguars, win by double digits. I have them at 1-1 after week 2.
Right, and I have them at 2-0 because I have respect for the Jaguars. I really like Liam Cohen as a coach. And he sort of, Chris Finch and Liam Cohen sort of played the make something out of nothing game with those comments. Finch did it for the T-Wolves against the Nuggets in the playoffs. But I do think the Broncos will win that game as well. I don't know that it'll be easy. Some questions surrounding Jacksonville with ETN gone. And can Trevor Lawrence come out of the gate playing well? I like Trevor Lawrence. I'm not sure I love Trevor Lawrence still. So I think the Broncos actually will look at this game and go, there's obviously a lot of guys back for Denver, and I think they'll remember what happened late last year. And yeah. I do think that could serve as a little bit of a chip for the Broncos in week 2.
Absolutely. I think the roles will be a little reversed this year, where the Broncos have that underdog mentality going into this game of like, oh, this is what you guys did to us last year. Just you wait what you're messing with. And let's go ahead and finish up their September games. They host the Rams, second consecutive home game there. Jacksonville week 2, Rams week 3. Rams are the Super Bowl favorite in 2026. Loaded roster. If you ask me, they're the best team in football. If you ask me, they were the best team in football last year. I know they didn't go out and win the Super Bowl. To me, they got a little bit screwed. They should have been hosting the NFC Championship. I think that changes the whole dynamic of them versus the Seahawks. But I think that there was a good chance they were going to raise the Lombardi last year, and I think there's still a great chance that they raise it this year. I have them falling in that one. I just think that's a ready-to-win now operation, and that Rams team is going to be moving on all cylinders. I think there's a chance that is a team that goes 14-3, 15-2 this year. I got the Broncos falling at home there.
Yeah, this is one where at first it was like, ooh, L.A., Seattle, 2 top teams in the NFC, at least coming to Denver, but on the schedule and in the early part of the schedule, initially I thought, yeah, this is a game the Broncos are going to fall. And then I thought, well, but this is the Rams are sort of borderline juggernaut to me. And I know they didn't make the Super Bowl last year. I get it. But they're still really good. And I will pick the Rams in what might be a shootout.
And it's Sunday Night Football, so that would be a great time for there to be a shootout if you're trying to market this sport.
No doubt. But I will pick the Rams. I think it'll be a fun game, but I do think the Rams will win it, even though it's in Denver.
All right,
they're
so
2-1.
You have them
Broncos.
2-1 there. I have them 1-2. Week 4, they travel to San Francisco, take on the local legend Christian McCaffrey up there.
And Kyle Shanahan.
Kyle Shanahan as well. So some Denver ties. That should be a fun one. Second NFC West team in a row there. I have them bouncing back, starting a little bit of a winning streak here, but I have them going to San Francisco and winning. I think San Francisco's due for one of those stinker years. Feels like that's Kyle Shanahan every third year that he's the coach there, where everything just happens to go wrong. The injuries add up too much. I'm assuming George Kittle will not be ready in that game. I want to say he tore his Achilles in either week 18 or the wild card round. So I'm assuming he won't be ready until maybe about halfway through the year or even later. And I think that's going to be to the Broncos' advantage. They've struggled covering tight ends, but should not be as big of a problem with no George Kittle out there.
Yeah, I really like all of those points, and yet there's something about this game I just don't like for the Broncos. I don't know exactly what it is. I feel like San Francisco is still a good team. Kyle Shanahan obviously hasn't forgotten how to coach. I'm going to pick the 49ers to pull this out. I don't feel great about picking the 49ers, but this is a tough early stretch, and I don't know if the Broncos out of the gate are going to do the 4-2 or better. So I feel like this is one where maybe they, air quotes, shouldn't lose because of a lot of the reasons you mentioned, Dante, but I pick them to lose their second straight and get to go to 500 at 2-2.
No, I think that's fair. The 49ers were a great team last year. They were in contention to win the division, be that 1 seed late as well.
Yeah.
All 3 of the top teams in the NFC West were absolutely incredible last year. So it's not a hot take by any means that if the Broncos were to go there and lose. Either way, we both have this team at 2-2 through their first 4 games. Then they travel to LA to take on the Chargers, the second divisional game for the Broncos of the year. What do you got in week 5 there as the Jim Harbaugh versus Sean Payton saga continues?
This is another one that was tricky for me to pick because we know that the Broncos country will travel. It'll be a sort of de facto in effect, road game or a home game for the Broncos, even though it's in L.A.
You don't think the Chargers are building up that fan base with Jim Harbaugh and Justin Herbert?
No. I do have respect for Harbaugh for sure. I'm still waiting for Herbert to emerge in the postseason, but this isn't a postseason game, obviously, that we're talking about. I will pick the Broncos to find a way to get this done and get the dub, although I don't think it'll be pretty. I don't think it'll be artistic. I think it could easily be sort of the 21-17, 20-16 type of game, defensive-minded. We know that Harbaugh is so physical, and that has tended to be effective against the Broncos from time to time, maybe more than that. But I do think the Broncos emerge from the gauntlet to start the year, at least the first 5, with a record of 3-2, and then the Seattle game completing that tough 6-game stretch to start.
Well, this might be the first time we agree. I also have them beating the Chargers, and I see it very similar to you. I think it's going to be a hard-fought game. I think it's going to give me some memories from last year when the Broncos traveled out there early in the year, and it was a close one up until the end there. I think the Broncos just come out on the right side of this game, or this matchup this year, early in the season, but I also have them at 3-2 there. And then we move on to the Seattle Seahawks to kind of wrap up that first 6 games. I'm going to group all those guys together there as the tough stretch of the season for this Broncos team, taking on, or hosting actually, the reigning Super Bowl champs in Sam Darnold and the Seattle Seahawks. I have this as a win as well for the Denver Broncos. I think the Broncos' home record was absolutely stellar last year. I expect that to continue. Sean Payton is I want to say he's the greatest coach of all time in October. I'd have to double check on that. I know his numbers are elite in October, though, and that will be an October matchup there. I have the Broncos taking care of business, winning their 3rd in a row and moving to 4-2 after that Seattle game.
Again, I think that's completely possible. I'm going to have to see it to believe it. I have great respect for Seattle. I think Mike McDonald has been brilliant in his early tenure as the head coach, and I think we saw that shine through last year when he led them to the Super Bowl title. And I will pick the Seahawks to come to Denver and get the win. And the Broncos are 500, 3-3, fine, not great, but surviving that tough stretch to begin the season. I just don't know. Part of the reason, Dante, that I look at a 500 record to start the year for the Broncos through all those tough matchups is I want to see where Bo is. I want to see how the Broncos come out because and I know Davis Webb is calling plays, so there's a huge change there. And how does that affect things? And we know that Sean Payton's team's in September, and yes, he does have the highest winning percentage among coaches in October, at least with minimum 50 games played. The fact is, in September, with those tough matchups, stretching into October, 3-3 is fine. I think they could be better than that, though. It would not shock me if they were better. If they were 2-4, 1-5, or 0-6, I'd be more than a little surprised.
No, I think that's very fair. And I think at this point, you take 3-3. I think 4-2, you'd absolutely sign up for that. I also, last thing on that game, I want to point out, it is a short week, Thursday Night Football on Amazon Prime. Broncos hosting in that case, and I think being the home team on Thursday Night Football gives you a massive advantage in the modern day of sports there. So that also went into the reason I picked the Broncos. So that first 6 weeks, that's what a lot of people are talking about. We heard on the drive, Colin Cowherd theorizing that maybe it's a conspiracy against Sean Payton in the Broncos. Roger Goodell doesn't like Sean Payton. Maybe the league doesn't like Sean Payton. But, yeah, I think if you can get through those first 6 games 500 or better, I think you're in a good spot if you're the Denver Broncos.
Yeah. I think 3-3, again, what could they steal one of those losses? And I have L.A., I've got at San Francisco, and I've got Seattle. Absolutely. Especially L.A. or Seattle. It wouldn't shock me at all if they split with those teams in Denver. But, again, such respect for those two as being maybe the two elite teams in the NFL, even though they're in the same division.
Yeah, I mean, at least we saw last year. To me, those were the two best teams in football last year. I also want to point out that first 6 games, yeah, it's a tough stretch. Historically, though, J.K. Dobbins been healthy for the beginning of seasons, maybe tails off towards the end or get some injuries towards the end of seasons. But I think it's going to be nice having J.K. Dobbins to rely on through those first 6 games. Let's move on. It gets a little bit easier here for the Denver Broncos. Week 7, they travel to Glendale, taking on the Arizona Cardinals. Recently picked up Jeremiah Love, the running back from Notre Dame. Some offensive weapons for the Arizona Cardinals. Trey McBride, local guy out here, Colorado State alum. Michael Wilson went for 1,000 yards. Trey McBride went for 1,000 yards. Marvin Harrison Jr. still looking for some untapped potential there. I just don't think the Cardinals get it back on track quite yet. I think that's going to be a closer game than many people think, but I got the Broncos winning that one. Similar case is what you were mentioning in L.A. as well. I think there'll be a lot of Broncos country represented at the State Farm Stadium down there.
I think you're spot on, and Jacoby Brissett just doesn't do it for me at quarterback.
Does Carson Beck do it for you at quarterback?
Well, if he's playing, then that would be an improvement, but I'm not convinced he's going to be the guy by then. He might be.
No, I think that's right. I was just questioning if you feel the same regardless of who's starting quarterback.
I might feel even better about a bigger Broncos win if it's a young quarterback like Beck facing the Broncos defense.
Yeah, that pass rush getting after Carson Beck, I would not wish that on anybody.
Yeah, I mean, hey, great respect for what Beck did at Miami this year, but come on, it's a different ball game now. Broncos win this, and they have to win this, and they will.
All right, yeah, I like that call. We move on to Week 8. The Broncos welcome the Kansas City Chiefs in. Kind of funky there that they play the Chiefs twice within the first 8 weeks of the year. I would have preferred to have a late season Chiefs game because I feel like that will end up being pretty important for divisional standings, for making the playoffs versus not making the playoffs potentially. But however, it does not go that way. They welcome the Chiefs in here in Week 8. Should be a good one after that Week 1 matchup as well. Who do you got in Week 8?
Week 8, I've got the Broncos to make it a sweep. I do. And again, I think Kansas City is going to be much better than they were after Mahomes went out. I mean, obviously they were missing Mahomes, but they kind of just, completely folded the tent. I'm not saying they quit. I'm just saying they just weren't anything close to what they usually are. And by Week 8, I think we're going to see Mahomes being back at his more normal self. And yet in Denver, I think the Broncos get it done and they complete the regular season sweep.
I also have the Chiefs in that one. However, I have that being a split because I had the Chiefs winning in week 1.
Yep.
But yeah, I think that pass rush in Denver at Mile High, the Broncos had, again, such a home field advantage last year. I think that continues. But I have them winning that game, moving to 6-2. The week before the bye, week 9, they travel out to Carolina. Carolina kind of fell backwards into winning that division in the NFC South last year. I actually have this as a surprise loss for the Denver Broncos. I think anytime a team goes west to east, it can cause some issues. And I think Carolina is a little bit better than people are letting on. I also, at this point, have the Broncos winning 5 in a row, and I think they're due for a loss there. I don't know, a 6-game win streak. I know this Broncos team had a bunch of wins last year, but a 6-game win streak is a lot to ask for the NFL. I have maybe a correctional game there, and they fall to Carolina.
I could see that, and this was one of the trickier games for me because at first glance you're like, oh, Carolina, not that good. You know, Carolina was a pretty solid team last year, surprisingly, at least to me. And the going east has been an issue for the Broncos. There's no doubt the early games out there for whatever reason, and we know there's a lot of factors that play into that.
That will be an 11 a.m. game,
Yeah.
11 a.m. game on CBS. Too.
Right, and that's problematic. But I do think the Broncos will find a way to win again. And the bye week is coming, so then there's the old is it a trap game because they're looking forward to the bye and all of that. I don't know that it'll be a blowout. I'm not expecting that. It's tough to blow anybody out in the NFL, especially on the road, but I do think the Broncos get it done in a game that's just, okay, they won. That's the plus. Let's move on and get some rest with the bye.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I also think that Ted McMillan, the wide receiver in Carolina, versus Patrick Surtain might be one of the better matchups that we're going to see all year for Patrick Surtain. I'm very excited to see that one. McMillan had a very strong rookie year, but that build is typically what Patrick Surtain does really well against. The taller receiver, a more possession receiver. Pat Surtain usually has his way with those kind of guys, but I think that's going to be a fascinating matchup. I have them going into the bye at 6-3. I believe you have them going into the bye at 6-3 as well.
Do. Yes.
All right. We will go ahead and break down the remaining schedule for the Denver Broncos after the break, starting out with that divisional opponent in Las Vegas. All of that and more coming up.
You asked for it, you got it. Backed by popular demand, it's the Drives Brouhaha.
Big social brouhaha.
This spring, Zach and Phil are back on the road, bringing their party to you. First stop, the Golden Triangle in Denver. May 22nd from 2 to 6 at Schoolyard Beer Garden.
There was quite a brouhaha.
Come find out what the commotion's all about. Head to DenverSports.com/drive for more details.
Guaranteed to bring the brouhaha.
Denver Sports 104.3. The Fan.
Hey, it's Mike Evans. Restore your bald spot, reverse your receding hairline, or add volume to thinning hair with the same simple one-day treatment I receive from Dr. Tanya Pauls of Advanced Hair. Your own natural hair begins regrowing the very next day, and your new hair is guaranteed to grow. Advanced Hair has changed tens of thousands of lives, including mine. For your free consultation, $250 off and 250 free hair grafts, call 720-459-HAIR, AdvancedHair.com.
We're living through a monetary crime scene, and your IRA or 401k is a key victim. Hi, Dr. Ron Paul here. In 1971, gold was $35 an ounce. After the dollar was cut loose from it, inflation soared. And in just 9 years, gold hit $850. People who diversified into precious metals survived and thrived. Today, we're in a worse position because we face inflation and massive debt. Fortunately, gold is still an option. My trusted friends at Birch Gold Group can help you own gold inside your retirement account without penalties or taxes. Start now by getting a free info kit on gold. Text the word SECURE to 989898. We're facing the same monetary chaos as the 70s with significantly more debt. Get your free info kit from Birch Gold. Just text SECURE to the number 989898.
Brandon Stokely here from my friends at Roller Auction. Do you have items you're looking to sell? since 1976. Roller Auction has been conducting commercial and industrial auctions for Colorado government agencies, Fortune 500 companies, small business owners, secured creditors, individuals, and more. They have a large marketplace to showcase your assets, so don't wait. Visit rollerauction.com for a free consultation and turn those items into some cold, hard cash. Again, go visit them at rollerauction.com. That's rollerauction.com.
When a semi-truck hits you, it's not always just a fender bender. First, it's the missed work. Then the medical bills pile up. And these big rig companies can move fast with teams of lawyers, investigators, and denials. If you're not ready, you're already behind. At the Berg Simpson Law Firm, we've handled these cases for decades. So if you've been struck by an 18-wheeler, call us at Berg Simpson today.
If you've been injured, call Berg Simpson for free now at 303-790-2525. BergSimpson.com. Good lawyers changing lives.
Between groceries, travel, and higher prices, it's easy to feel overwhelmed, especially if you're already relying on credit cards to cover the basics. If that debt is piling up, you're not alone. If you're a homeowner, you might have considered reaching out to American Financing, but hesitated because you don't want to give up your low mortgage rate. That's why American Financing created the Smart Equity Loan, a simple, smart way to get your finances back on track without giving up your low mortgage rate. Unlike a HELOC, which can fluctuate with the market, the Smart Equity Loan offers a fixed rate, so you'll have one predictable monthly payment. It lets you use your home's equity to pay off high-interest debt, free up your cash flow, and still keep your existing mortgage intact. There are no upfront fees to find out how much you can save. Call 303-695-7000. That's 303-695-7000, or visit them online at americanfinancing.net. NMLS 182334, NMLSconsumeraccess.org.
Performance matters in intimate moments. Don't let ED ruin them. This is Jeff for the Rocky Mountain Men's Clinic, and I want to assure you that if you're like the vast majority of guys, you don't have to suffer with ED anymore. In fact, you might be pleasantly surprised at how the right treatments could positively impact your love life. At the Rocky Mountain Men's Clinic, our advanced medical therapies go far beyond pills. We have treatments that are effective in well over 90% of cases, and we offer specific and combinative treatments that can dramatically enhance both your performance and your stamina. You could even last up to an hour or more and bring a far greater level of intimacy to both you and the one you love, perhaps performing like you haven't in years. So call us today and find out why our advanced treatment strategies offer so much more. Your first visit is just $99 and gets you blood work, a medical consult, and if medically advised, a test dose. And if that test dose doesn't work in the office, your visit is free. Call 720-440-7900 or go to RockyMountainMen'sClinic.com. Rocky Mountain Men's Clinic, advanced medical science to improve men's lives.
In a city full of choices, your savings destination is Groove Toyota, the oldest family-owned Toyota dealership in the Denver metro. Over 200 pre-owned vehicles in stock, including MPG MVPs and Toyota certified with full warranties. Visit GrooveToyota.com. Don't wait. 50 vehicles priced under $15,000 won't last. Buy today in person or at GrooveToyota.com. Start here. Go anywhere.
Offer expires 6/1/26. Not all will qualify. Restrictions apply with approved credit. Call 720-961-4465 for complete details.
It's Denver Sports Tonight on Denver Sports Station 104.3 The Fan.
Mike and Dante continuing on here on Denver Sports Tonight, breaking down the Broncos schedule that was released yesterday, breaking down the Avalanche and Golden Knights as they get ready for the Western Conference Finals starting next week as well. Continue along here with the Broncos schedule. We got to the bye week, so the first 9 games there. Week 10 will be the bye week, which I love for the Broncos. I think a mid-season bye week's absolutely ideal for these kind of teams where it's such a long season, such a physical sport that you really want to make sure it's not too early of a bye week. And same thing on the other end, you want to make sure it's not too late of a bye week to where you're burnt out and your body's just done by that point. But we both have them at 6-3 heading into the bye, a little different ways of getting there. But week 11. After that bye week, they open up against Las Vegas. First game against Las Vegas of the year. I have that as a win for the Denver Broncos. I think Vegas will be much improved this year than what we've seen. I like what they did in the draft. I think Ashton Genty will be the Ashton Genty that we assumed he would be after they drafted him last year behind a more competent operation there in Las Vegas. But I just think the Broncos after a bye week, that's going to be tough for the opposing team, for any opposing team in that situation.
I'll call this with one word, Dante, dub. Onward. Not easy, probably. I mean, it was a 10-7 game in Denver last year, the ugly Thursday nighter. It's a dub.
Yeah. All right. We will move along to Week 12. They travel to Pittsburgh, the reigning and AFC North winners there. I have that as a dub as well. Broncos win 2 in a row, moving to 8-3. I think by that time, there's a chance Aaron Rodgers isn't even the starting quarterback in Pittsburgh anymore. Maybe they go out to Will Howard, the young guy that they got to see a little bit from last year. It just feels like that operation. I know it's a new operation with Mike McCarthy there, but there were some flaws in last year's team, and it might be a rebuilding kind of year for Pittsburgh.
Yeah, this was the other tricky game for me, or another tricky one to pick, because at first glance, yes, I think it should be a win, but most teams, even really good ones, have a game that they quote unquote shouldn't or don't win that they should. And I think this is going to fall into that category. I see Pittsburgh getting the victory here. I hate to say it again, it's going to be a 1:00 game Mountain Time. And it's a Friday, so that's weird. It's after Thanksgiving. That's weird. And I don't know what Pittsburgh is going to be. If Will Howard is the starting quarterback, I reserve the right to switch my pick on this game, because I don't think that Will Howard would lead Pittsburgh to a win over the Broncos, even back there. But as things stand right now, I pick Pittsburgh to win this.
No, I think it's a great take, and that was one of the tougher games that it took for me. I had pretty much filled out every single win-loss throughout the year, and I left that one blank for a while there, just staring at it, but I ended up going with a win. I think that coming off of a bye week is going to help this Broncos team. I know it's not directly after, but still should be more rested than the opponent there. Week 13, they host Miami, rebuilding Miami Dolphins team. Dolphins went out and signed the backup from Green Bay. His name is Malik Willis.
Yes.
I think that is a rebuilding organization there. New head coach. Was it Jeff Hafley? I don't really know too much about Jeff Hafley, but I would be surprised if he had that group rolling in what time of year is that?
In
December
at all this year. They're not going to roll at all this year.
Yes, rolling at all this year, but especially in December as they're coming to cold weather potentially here in Denver. I got that as a dub. Maybe we see some backup quarterback in the fourth quarter for the Denver Broncos because they're up by that much.
Yeah, I think this is the Broncos win at home, down there, wherever they want to play Miami. Broncos get this win.
All right, we move on to Week 14, another AFC East opponent. They travel to New Jersey, I guess I should say, taking on the New York Jets. I have that as a win as well, winning their 4th in a row there on my predictions here, 10-3. The Broncos moved to. I think the Jets made some good draft picks, and I think they're moving in the right direction, but they are coming from a very, very low place, and it's the Jets. Who knows if they're ever on the right track in general. I have that as a dub for the Broncos.
Okay, so just to confirm, it's Geno Smith at quarterback for the Jets?
To start the year, it's believed.
Well, then it's a win for the Broncos.
I don't think the Jets or Dolphins want to win either of those games. I think the Jets and Dolphins are trying to get the best possible draft pick in the following year.
Yeah, that might be the case. Again, let's see. I'm just looking. It will be an early game on the East Coast, but I don't think that's going to matter. I don't think the Jets are going to really make any noise, and I think it's a nice little 2-game cushion for the Broncos after the loss to Pittsburgh, at least the way I see it.
Yep, and Week 15, we have the Las Vegas Raiders. Broncos traveling to Las Vegas in this one. This is one of my spicier picks of the year. I have the Raiders. The Raiders. Winning that one. I think Fernando Mendoza has a little bit of juice going in that organization. He's the number 1 pick for a reason. I'm not a huge Mendoza guy. I've actually said that he's one of the worst Heisman winners in the last 20 years.
But he'll beat the Broncos.
But I think that his game will transfer to the NFL pretty well. Not in terms of him being this ultimate game guy where he's not Tim Tebow when he steps out there in terms of going above. Well, I meant more in terms of going above the X's and O's,
right.
But I think he's going to make the plays necessary, and I think that might be maybe that's Fernando Mendoza's first career win right there in Week 15.
Wow.
I have the Broncos falling there, going from 10-3 to 10-4.
I might have to suspend your Broncos country card for that pick right there.
Really? You can't pick the Raiders ever?
What's that?
I can't ever pick the Raiders over the Broncos?
Well, I mean, here you diss Mendoza to that degree, and then you pick the Raiders to win the game. I don't think it'll be as easy as some of the games against the Raiders that the Broncos have had, but I do think the Broncos will go down there and win. I have respect for Mendoza. I don't have a great feel for the type of quarterback that he'll be at the NFL level. He was very good in college. He was very good in the clutch at college at Indiana, and even going back to his years with Cal. He did transfer from my alma mater.
I know. So you got to get your Cal Bears propaganda in there.
Got to do it. I will take the Broncos to win this, and they will get to, what would that be, 10-4? Yeah, 10-4.
All right, so we both of them at 10-4 after Week 15, and there's kind of you can segment the Broncos season there from Week 7 to Week 15. A lot of the lighter part of the schedule there. The Chiefs are still mixed in there. The Panthers are still in there. The Pittsburgh Steelers are mixed in there, but a lot of the easier opponents for the most part. Ramps up a little bit in the final 3 weeks of the year. Week 16, a rematch of the AFC divisional game last year between the Broncos and Bills. Also will be at Mile High again this year like it was last year in the playoffs. I have this as a loss for the Denver Broncos. I think the Bills are going to be an absolute wagon this year. I think getting is it Doug McDermott? No, Doug McDermott's a basketball player. Sean McDermott. Yeah, getting Sean McDermott out there is going to it's going to be addition by subtraction in Buffalo. A new voice and just a new motivating factor there behind their new OC Joe Brady that they promoted to head coach. I think I don't know how long it'll work for that organization, but I think they'll get a 2-3 year bump with Joe Brady being the head coach. I have the Broncos losing that one in Week 16.
Yeah, I have the Broncos losing their third home game of the year with a loss against Buffalo. I think this game is going to mean a ton to Buffalo based on what happened in the playoffs last year. Not saying that the Broncos will feel like, it's just another game. No, the Broncos will battle, but I think the Bills come in and get it done. I think it could be fun. I think it could be another shootout if Bo's healthy and Josh Allen's healthy and the teams are kind of what we think they are going to be. But I do see Buffalo coming in and giving the Broncos the loss, make it 10-5.
All right, and then they finish up their AFC East opponents, traveling to New England in Week 17. I have this as a win for the Broncos. I don't think New England is going to be able to repeat the success they had from last year. I still think New England will be okay, but closer to like a 9-8 team, not a 12-13 win kind of team.
Yeah, this is the third tricky game. I went back and forth on this, and ultimately I settle on the Patriots getting it done. I do, and it pains me, but I'm trying to just be true to what I think will happen based on where we are now, which is obviously nowhere near where we're going to be, 6 months from now or whatever it is. But winnable game for sure. It's a flex game, so I could very well see it being on a Saturday. I could very well see it being a night game, a primetime type of game, and who knows what the weather's going to be like back then. That's going to be New Year's weekend.
Yeah, that could be a little nasty.
Yeah, that's going to be first weekend in January, it looks like. So, no.
All right.
Now, not impossible, but I'll pick the Patriots to win as we sit here today.
All right, Week 18, I have the Chargers getting their revenge on the Denver Broncos from Week 5. In Week 5, I predicted that win in L.A. for the Denver Broncos. Week 18, Chargers come back and win that one. Broncos finish 11-6 according to what I am predicting here. I have them 5-3 at home, 6-3 on the road. What about you, Mike?
Yeah, this is interesting how it worked out for me. I will pick the Broncos to make it a sweep of the Chargers and go unbeaten in the division.
Oh, 6-0 in the division, Mike. Okay.
Yep. Getting the road wins. But let me just say this as an asterisk. The game at Kansas City in Week 1 was the one I debated over the most. Week 5 at the Chargers, not exactly a cakewalk either. So I picked the Broncos to find a way to go undefeated, which is obviously very, very difficult. But will it happen? I wouldn't put any money on that.
We're fixing to find out. And I think both of us can agree on this. We got a great text here from the 8064. If the Broncos win 11 games this year, it'll be more legitimate than their record last year. I completely agree with that sentiment. I have them being 11-6 and being maybe not considered better than last year, but pretty much equal to the team that we saw last year. Mike, are you in agreement on that one, that they can have actually a worse record than last year, but be considered a better team?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, they're playing a tougher schedule. We know that, and We also know that, and I had them 11-6 as well, so we just got there. We actually had quite a number of different picks, as it turned out, but we still both have the Broncos at 11-6. And the fact of the matter is, Dante, that I think an 11-6 record, if indeed they're able to run the table in the division, man, that's going to put them squarely in the hunt. Now, I don't know if 11-6 will get them there because, somebody else, just because the other teams would have lost by my picks twice to the Broncos doesn't mean they couldn't be overtaken. But it will put them, I think, in a pretty good place heading into the postseason.
Yeah, completely agree. And Mike, real quick on the way out here, we're going to do the single most interesting game to you. And that could be for whatever reason that you want to come up with here. I'll start. I'm going to go with Week 5 at Los Angeles against the Chargers. I think the Chargers are a real threat to win this division here in the AFC West. I have the Chiefs being a wild card team. I actually have the Broncos also being a wild card team, that 5 seed there, winning 11 games. But I have the Chargers taking home the AFC West this year. I think year 3 of John Harbaugh, I want to say, over there in LA. I think he has these guys firing on all cylinders. And I think Week 5 can be that swing game in terms of the Broncos trying to win the division or being a wild card team.
Yeah, it's a great question you asked, Dante. And my most interesting game is Week 1.
Oh, really? Right off the bat?
It absolutely is. What's Bo going to be like? And we're going to get a sense in training camp in the preseason. The Davis Webb factor, calling plays, how is that going to work? How will it flow? Will it be a marked improvement to maybe overcome some of the slow starts the Broncos have had offensively in Bo's first couple of years? Or will it be, I don't want to say more confusion, but just another wrench put into the whole mechanism? I'm really – and then what are the Chiefs going to be like? What's Patrick Mahomes' health status going to be truly when it comes to game action? Not when it comes to how's the rehab and preseason – game action. And you could say that about Bo as well. So this is a really interesting start at Arrowhead. Better weather, one would think, mid-September as opposed to mid-December or late November. And I'm really interested to see how the Broncos come out of the gate.
Yeah, a lot of question marks for both teams heading into that one. Primetime game should have all the eyeballs on it. I don't think that's a bad answer by any means. And I agree with you about the Davis Webb factor. I'm excited to see what Davis Webb brings to this team. I think it'll help the Broncos, especially early in the year. Not a lot of film on Davis Webb out there. I think he might catch some other teams by surprise. This Broncos offense might catch some other teams by surprise, be the driving factor for some wins this year, where just a season ago was more defensive heavy for a lot of those wins. I think we might see those roles not completely reverse, but be a little bit more 50-50 than what we've seen in the past. Well, that'll do it for the Broncos not preseason schedule, before the season actually starts. Schedule predictions for me and Mike. When we come back, we're going to break down Avalanche Golden Knights with a trip to the Stanley Cup Finals on the line. Coming up.
Denver, Vegas. The Western Conference Final is here, and this city is hyped. The Avalanche, the Golden Knights, a trip to the Stanley Cup Final on the line. We're riding through it with you, and we're just as obsessed as you are. Every take, every call, every moment that makes you jump out of your seat, we're living it with you. Mornings, middays, afternoons, it's Avalanche playoff coverage all day long. Denver Sports 104.3 The Fan. Denver's playoff headquarters.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to Markdowns for Miles at AutoZone.
Got any markdowns on oil?
We've got many markdowns on oil.
How about on that new STP Any Mileage?
You'll save $5 when you buy 5 quarts of STP Any Mileage with an oil filter and get up to 5,000 miles of protection.
Heck of a markdown for quite a lot of miles.
At AutoZone.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Restrictions apply.
The NBA playoffs are underway, and now you can trade every game on Kalshi. You can also trade on who wins each series, the conference finals, and the championship. San Antonio is currently trading at 19% to win it all, meaning a $100 trade pays out over $500 if they take the title. On Kalshi, you're trading against other people in a live market. No house, no odds makers. And as odds move, you can buy in or out anytime throughout the postseason. For a limited time, download the Kalshi app and use code PASS to get $10 when you trade $10. KALSHI. Kalshi. Trade on anything.
about 60 seconds that'll make you actually feel good for a change? Hey, Dan Jacobs with 303 Law 4040. You've heard me talk about the best free meal in Denver. And I had some listeners that had heard me talk about how I used to love to make brisket, but with outrageous beef prices, we just couldn't afford to do it anymore. We can't afford to feed that many people. Well, a guy, Barbecue Bob, showed up to one of our first and third Thursdays with a couple $1,000s of brisket so he could just help people. We're going to make free brisket here coming up in the next couple months for our best free meal in Denver. And then another guy, Fred, who runs the Ace Hardwares over on Gartrell Road and Arapahoe Crossing. He said, from now on, all your fuel you need for that barbecue is on me. And another guy, Bobby Hancock from IHOP. He fed our volunteers and gave thousands of dollars worth of gift certificates to our people that take advantage of the best free meal in Denver. If you want to help, you can. Just spread the word. It's the best free meal in Denver every first and third Thursday, 4 to 6 p.m. It's at Smoky Hill and Arapahoe Road. And if you have any questions, just call us at 303-LAW-4040.
Is your financial advisor managing your risk or just a spreadsheet? Hi, I'm Jeff Jr., founder of Trajan Wealth. Many financial advisors rely on target date funds, which are one-size-fits-all portfolios that don't know your name, your family, or your goals. And that passive management can leave you dangerously exposed. At Trajan, we look at the whole picture, not just the stocks everyone else buys, but the private market opportunities most advisors ignore. And as fiduciaries, we build a strategy around you, coordinating your investments, tax strategy, and estate into one cohesive plan. Your financial life deserves more than just a generic portfolio. Real planning isn't a stack of statements. It's the confidence of knowing where your income will come from for the next 30 years. Good enough isn't good enough for your family. It's time for a change. Schedule your complimentary consultation today. Call 855-TRAJAN-1. That's 855-TRAJAN-1.
Advisory services through Trajan Wealth, LLC, an SEC registered investment advisor. Private equity investments require accreditation. Other services through Trajan Estate and Trajan Tax. Additional disclosures at TrajanWealth.com.
Veterans and active duty service members. When your call to service ends, your mission doesn't have to. Go from GI to IT in just a few months at My Computer Career. Prepare for a high-demand career in cybersecurity, protecting people, systems, and institutions from real cyber threats. Cyber warriors are needed now. Will you answer the call? Go to mycomputercareer.edu/CWP to learn more. That's mycomputercareer.edu/CWP, an elite CompTIA certification partner. VA education benefits are available to those who qualify.
Indeed presents hires you can't afford to get wrong, like customer service associate at a dry cleaning shop.
Yeah, hi. I'm here to pick up my suit.
Ah, yes. Here you go.
There must be a mistake. This is too small.
It shrunk a whole lot. Look on the bright side. Now you have a suit you can give to a child.
This is your job for sponsored jobs. This is what happens when you don't sponsor your job on Indeed. Next time, get matched with quality candidates with Indeed sponsored jobs. Visit Indeed.com/hire now and sponsor your job today.
You could sleep through the night without thinking twice. You could take a seat in the middle of the theater. You could drive without worry of where the next restroom is. You used to say yes, and somewhere along the way, you stopped. Not because of one big moment, because of 100 small ones. A little more urgency, one more trip to the bathroom at 2 a.m., one more mental note about where the restroom is. It happened slowly enough that it just became you. But it's not you. It's enlarged prostate, and there's a treatment called aquablation therapy, the only ultrasound-guided robotic-assisted therapy for enlarged prostate. Find an aquablation therapist near you. Call Aquablation Denver at 720-637-9567, 720-637-9567. That's 720-637-9567. All surgical treatments carry risks, and results may vary. Side effects may include urinary symptoms, mild pain, ejaculatory dysfunction, or infection. In rare cases, complications to the urethra and rectum may occur. Aquablation therapy may not be right for everyone. Talk to your urologist to learn more. Visit aquablationdenver.com.
Stream Stokely and Evans with Mark Schlereth, Dover and Cecil, The Drive, and all your favorite shows on the Denver Sports 104.3 The Fan app. Powered by Advanced Tax Solutions. Denver Sports 104.3 The Fan. Denver Sports Station 104.3 The Fan presents Denver Sports Tonight.
Mike and Dante wrapping up a Denver sports week here on a Friday night. I hope everyone out there has a great weekend. We are going to go ahead and finish up the show breaking down the Avalanche and Golden Knights. That series will get going on Wednesday down here at Ball Arena. Should be a absolute great series. Both teams have been playing really good playoff hockey. Mike, I want to start off with, we'll just go with your general thoughts on the series. Avs kind of rolled there. Obviously, a great 3-0 comeback in that Game 5 there, but winning round 1 and 4, winning round 2 and 5, kind of been cruising here. And I know maybe the scores wouldn't show it as much in round 2 there, but 9 games through 2 rounds, I think anybody would have signed up for that one. How do you think this Knights series ends up breaking out?
I think it's tricky, and I think you have to respect Vegas for some of their history, and in the only playoff matchup against the Avs a few years ago, I think it was the year before they won the Cup. You know, the Avs get the 2-0 lead, and then Vegas comes back and wins the next 4. I don't know if that really matters when it comes to this year. Look, this is a good, solid Vegas team. It's not a scary Vegas team, but it's dangerous because they are talented. So I have a healthy dose of respect for the Golden Knights. I don't know that I will pick the Avs in a sweep or even a gentleman's sweep, but I do think the Avs are clearly the better team, and I think they will win the series and move on to the Cup final.
I'm right there with you. I think this Vegas team finds ways to win games, but that's a pretty hard task when you're facing the Colorado Avalanche there. Way too early prediction here. I'm going to go Avs in 6. As far as Vegas goes, do you see this as a bigger threat to the Avalanche than the Minnesota Wild were last round when you're going into the series? Your pre-series thoughts, not during the series necessarily.
Yeah, no, I don't think they're a bigger threat. I mean, Minnesota won 46 games and Vegas won 39 games. And
however, since they fired the coach, they've been on an absolute heater. I want to say they finished 7-0-3 to end the year, and then obviously 2 playoff series wins as well.
Yeah, and that's their credit. That's why they're dangerous. And under Tortorella, they're playing better hockey. There's no doubt. Do I think though they would beat Minnesota in a playoff series this year? I do not. I think Minnesota would win that series. So do I have respect? Absolutely. But I just want to put this in perspective. And again, there's layers because of what you said after the coaching change, which, you know, is not unique to Vegas. But when you look at Vegas, they were 5 points better than the Kings in the regular season. It's not exactly a lot. And here's another factor about Vegas. The Kings led the NHL with 20 overtime losses. Who was second? Vegas with 17. Now, again, that may mean nothing when it comes to this series because, as you said, it's a different Vegas team down the stretch than it has been the entire year. And you know they're playing with confidence now after winning their first 2 series in 6 games. That's a pretty healthy, solid series win in both the first 2 rounds. But I do think the Avs are better. The one asterisk is, of course, the Cale Makar situation. And can Cale Makar play? And if he does, will he play at his usual level? That's a question for me.
And that's exactly where I wanted to take the conversation. Avs will have a long layoff. Knights will have their own long layoff as well as they finished up the series last night on Thursday. For Game 1, not until Wednesday for both of these guys. Avs will have the full week off. Knights will have the 6 days off there. How much do you think health factors in for this Avalanche team? Cale Makar getting a little dinged up there in Game 5. Lehkonen, Malinsky have also had their fair share of injuries themselves. Do you think injuries come back to bite this Avalanche team?
I don't know about bite, but the Makar situation worries me. It does.
Do they need the best version of Makar to beat the Golden Knights or to beat them maybe a little more handily?
The latter. They don't need Cale being Cale to win the series, but it becomes a whole lot more interesting if he's not his usual self.
I think I'd agree with that. I think that's when you can weigh it into those Game 6, Game 7 conversations if Cale is not the all-world player that we have come to know Makar as around here in Denver. I'm excited for it, though. I think we're going to get really good hockey. I'm going to take the Avalanche over anybody that they face, and I think that they're going to need Makar if they make it to the Stanley Cup Finals, for if they're taking on Carolina, if they're taking on the Canadiens, both some quality opponents over there. That'll do it, though, for Denver Sports tonight. We'll have more programming on Sunday with Dan Jacobs. Also, Kyle and Cello. And me and Mike will be back on Monday, Denver Sports Tonight, as well as all of our regular programming on Monday. Everybody out there have a great weekend. Mike, you as well. For Dante and Mike, that'll do it.